I would like to welcome you to my channel, That Middle-Aged Lady. My name is Denise, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about a somewhat silent controversy surrounding the hormone replacement therapy, Premarin, both the oral tablet and the vaginal cream. I say silent because I have a feeling that most people have probably never heard about it. I know that I didn't until I started to do some research for my videos, specifically looking into Premarin. And once I started to dig a little deeper, that is when I actually found out about this particular controversy. So unless you specifically heard anything about it or knew specifically what to look for, I have a feeling, again, that most people have probably never heard about it. Before I get started, I just want to clarify that the information I'm going to be sharing with you in today's video is not meant to take the place of any type of medical advice from your physician, but rather is just meant for informational or entertainment purposes, and is simply based on my opinion and interpretation of the information that I'm going to share. The scientists first discovered that they could extract estrogen from a pregnant woman's placenta and also from the umbilical cord back in the 1920s in order to make the hormone replacement therapy treatment for many women who were in need of it. But because it proved to be a rather tedious and expensive procedure, they did a little bit more research and eventually discovered that they could also extract the estrogen from a pregnant horse's urine, which was the same or very similar to that of a pregnant woman. And because horses pee a lot more than a human being does, it also meant that they were going to be able to get a lot more of that estrogen in a shorter amount of time. And then Premarin was eventually developed by a company called Waith out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It was first marketed in the United States in 1942 and in Canada in 1941, and is considered a conjugated estrogen hormone replacement therapy. Conjugated meaning it has several different estrogens combined together. By 1990, Premarin was the most frequently dispensed drug in the United States, and by 2000, its annual sales had reached over $2 billion. Then in 2002, the World Health Initiative came out with a study that said that hormone replacement therapy such as Premarin were detrimental to women's health and that it could significantly raise their chance of getting things like breast cancer, endometrial cancer, or even heart disease. And I did do a video on that controversy, so if that sounds like something you're interested in hearing more about, I hope you'll check that video out. But of course, once the study came out, a lot of women went off Premarin, a lot of doctors stopped prescribing it, and so sales plummeted. It wasn't until another study came out stating that the World Health Initiative study from 2002 was flawed and that there was a lot of misinformation in that, and that it was actually safe for women to go ahead and use Premarin. And so sales once again began to rise. And so where does the controversy come in? The controversy involved the fact that one of the main ingredients of Premarin was derived from the urine of pregnant horses. I know that when I first started doing my research for my channel, especially when I was looking into the different treatments for vaginal atrophy, with Premarin being one of them, I knew right away that one of the main ingredients was derived from the urine of pregnant horses. And although I thought it was strange, I really didn't give it any more thought after that until I started thinking about it more, and I began to wonder, well, how do they even get the urine from the pregnant horses in the first place? Do they surgically remove it? Do they slap a diaper on the horses and then once it's full, wring it out into a bucket? Do they put a bucket underneath the horses and hope the horses pee in it and that they don't kick it over? How exactly do they get the urine? And so eventually my curiosity got the best of me and I decided to dig a little deeper, do a little bit more research. And that was when I came across the particular controversy that, again, I call it a silent controversy because I don't feel like a lot of people even have ever heard about it. And that is how I came about knowing about it. The controversy itself isn't because one of the main ingredients of Premarin is derived from the urine of pregnant horses, but rather was the treatment of the horses in order to get the urine from them. And so these horses, apparently from what I've read and all the research I've done, were kept in very small stalls where they had a rubber bag attached to them that would then collect this urine. And they wanted to keep these horses in these very small stalls so that they wouldn't have a lot of movement and wouldn't accidentally dislodge one of the bags and therefore spill the urine from them. And then these bags were kept on them from anywhere to 160 to 180 days a year, which works out to be about 5 or 6 months. And then horses are generally pregnant for approximately 11 to 12 months out of the year, so almost the whole entire year. The other issue is that they were only given small amounts of water to drink, because the more water you drink, the more your urine becomes diluted. And so in order to keep the urine as concentrated as they could get, they would only give the horses a small amount of water to drink every day. These pregnant horses were kept at PMU farms, PMU standing for Pregnant Mare's Urine. And according to the Pegasus Foundation in 2001, there were 450 approximately pregnant mare urine farms in Canada and approximately 50 in the United States, with most of those consisting of being in North Dakota. The other part of this controversy is that because so many of the horses were being impregnated, that meant there were all these babies being born. And when they weren't able to place the foals, they would then get sent to slaughterhouses where they would get killed. Or when the mama horses were deemed to no longer be viable to even get pregnant or produce their foals, they would also be sent to slaughterhouses where they would get killed. In some cases, other countries would acquire them or acquire their meat, because in places like Japan or China, Germany, Belgium, really too many to name, they eat horse meat. They consider it the same thing as us eating cows or pigs. And so in that case, at least they would get the meat to eat, which to me is a lot better than them just getting slaughtered for no good reason. Of course, once organizations like PETA, which is People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, the Humane Society, and then different equestrian organizations got involved, they did everything they could to fight for the rights of these horses and their babies. And then eventually the United States did away with the horse farms here. So there are no longer any PMU farms in the United States. And according to all of the research I've done, it sounds like there's maybe 19 left in Canada. I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate or not, but that's what I was able to find. And then because Premarin still uses the urine from pregnant horses as one of their key ingredients, all of the horse farms got shipped overseas to places like China, because they didn't have the stringent regulations that places like the United States have. And so according to everything I've read, it sounds like people are still fighting for the rights of these horses, and China is doing everything they can to treat them ethically, make sure that they have everything they need, try and, find placements for them once the adult horses are no longer viable to get pregnant and their babies. So I certainly hope that's true. But the main reason I wanted to do this is just because it's amazing to me that of all the different medicines we put into our bodies, how much do we really know what is in those medicines? And so I think that's something that we need to be aware of, or even what is the history behind it. Again, I knew right away that Premarin was derived from the urine of pregnant horses, but until I, dug a little bit deeper, nowhere did I ever know about all of the controversy that surrounded it, as far as how the horses were treated, and then their babies being sent to slaughterhouses because there were so many of them they couldn't place them. And so I just find it interesting that, we take things, different types of medications, and not only do we not know the history of it, we don't know what some of the key ingredients are, or even, any of the controversy surrounding it. And so I just think it's a good idea to, try and keep ourselves as informed as we can, especially if this is something that you feel passionately about, or that you want to learn a little bit more about to see what you can do to help. And again, certainly this video is in no way meant to say that you should not use Premarin, as only that is something that you and your doctor can decide. Obviously, if it's working for you to treat your symptoms of vaginal atrophy, or for just even the symptoms of menopause, then obviously there's a reason that your doctor's prescribed it for you. And so that's definitely something you would want to talk to your doctor about before you even would begin to think about wanting to get off of it. And the reason I did this video wasn't to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do in life, because that's not my business and certainly is entirely up to you, but rather, again, just for conversation pieces, because I found it fascinating that I never even knew about this when I was researching Premarin until I had to dig deeper and specifically look for how they extracted the urine from these horses in order to even find this controversy. And so I appreciate you watching. I hope you found it interesting like I did. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them. And other than that, I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and I will look forward to seeing you again next time.